there you go.
Yeah, okay, here, Barbara. Barbara, okay. Yes, I will introduce y'all. I know we've had no conversations at all. I'm stepping in for her today, so I'll introduce y'all.
I do, yes, I'm his director of scheduling. I've been here since November. Yeah, that's how it feels. Yeah. Well, it was very nice to meet you too.
They don't have to be even today.
We definitely.
I can't wait. Hey. It's not your fault. That's on me. I don't know, Chad, because we have a lot of things. He just handed me a sheet and started talking, and I was like,
Well, good luck, John.
yeah. Is that today? It's whatever y'all talked about yesterday. Well, he calls me. Usually to.
Oh, well, no, just today's just the.
Right. But nothing we talked about yesterday is happening today, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
That's what I said. And he was like, are you sure?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
I did not know that would. Can't we? Next time.
No, we can't. No, it's my bad. I should have stayed.
It's okay. But no, none of that's today.
That's
It's
what I thought.
just Prince today.
I didn't. If you didn't get confused on the agenda. Morning, David. Yeah. I saw you in the water pan. Weren't you in Sam's water pan?
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah. Widely attended. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I think you were right.
I was definitely back. Where he could be sure to see this.
I think for once you don't have anything. I'm not front and center.
God, no, right.
Good. One place to be. Are you coming down to St. Rose?
I don't think I have a choice unless I catch some kind of a terrible disease, which I might try to.
I'm gonna take some people on a little cruise on my boat. So I want to figure out what y'all.
It'll have to be.
Oh, I'm aware.
Right. Don't post that either. All rise.
I'd like to welcome everybody out to our March docket. We'll start with opening prayer. Commissioner Carr, you're recognized to introduce our prayer leader.
Yes, I would like to welcome my friend Mr. Bob Odom that I have known 30 plus years. He's always been there for me. He's a great friend. I consider him a brother from another mother, as they say.
Well, y'all look so much alike.
we've
No, it's the haircut, I think, that's giving it away.
he's always been there when times were tough and times were good for me and my family. He's also a person that'll tell you the truth. And that's what we need in this world. And many times we've agreed to disagree, but we're still friends after all these years. And I would thank him for that friendship and his family. And we'll leave the mic to you, brother.
Your name. Help us to never forget that you are a holy God, full of mercy and grace. Thank you for your Son, Jesus Christ, the one and only Savior of your world. Forgive us of our sins. Give us wisdom and strength that can only come from you. Father, we lift up all who serve in public office. Grant them wisdom to make decisions that honor truth and justice, and courage to stand for what is right, and compassion for those they represent. Protect them from corruption and discouragement. Surround them with wise counsel and a spirit of humility so that they may lead with integrity and fairness. May their service bring unity, hope, and lasting good to the great state of Mississippi and its citizens. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thanks, brother. I'd like to now recognize Commissioner Stamps to lead us in the pledge.
Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen.
Thank you, brother. You may be seated. First item on the agenda today is adoption of proposed consent docket for the March 2026 open meeting of the Commission. May I have a motion to adopt the proposed consent docket?
So moved.
A second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Consent docket's adopted. There are no items on the energy agenda, so we'll move on to the telecommunications agenda and we'll take up item number 1, docket number 2021 UA 0013. Mr. Jones, you recognize to present item number 1.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, in docket number 2025 UA 13, it concerns the application of Belzona Cable doing business as Southeast Broadband for expansion of its eligible telecommunication carriers designation. Belzona Cable is already an ETC in Mississippi and currently receives about $6.7 million in Rural Digital Opportunity Fund support dispersed over 10 years to deliver gigabyte broadband to more than 1,400 unserved locations in Humphreys and Sharkey counties, Mississippi. The company has met or is exceeding all build-out obligation milestones to date and is in good standing with the Mississippi Secretary of State's office. The company is now requesting to expand its high-cost and low-cost Lifeline ETC service area to include 5 additional census blocks in Sharkey and Issaquena counties. This expansion would allow Belzona Cable to use approximately $488,000 in RDOF funding to deploy fiber to the home service to about 797 locations. These census blocks were originally awarded to Aristotle Unified Communications. However, Aristotle had not made any progress towards meeting its first build-out obligation milestone of 40% by the end of 2025. Aristotle and Belzona Cable have executed an assignment and assumption agreement transferring these 5 census blocks and all related RDOF obligations to Belzona Cable. The FCC conditionally approved this transfer on February 27th of this year. Under this agreement, Belzona Cable will assume all RDOF responsibilities for the transferred census blocks. Aristotle will transfer all related assets, including engineering plans, equipment, facilities, unspent RDOF support, and the right to future disbursements. The staff has reviewed the applications, exhibits thereto, and other pertinent information, and holds the opinion that this transfer will accelerate broadband deployment in Issaquena and Sharkey counties and is consistent with state and federal goals. Approval of this request would allow Belzona Cable to begin network construction and proceed with its deployment obligations. The company has demonstrated that it has the technical, financial, and managerial capability to meet these expanded ETC responsibilities. Further, the company is committed to complying with all federal and state requirements and to avoiding duplicate support. The staff recommends approval of this application conditioned on the satisfaction of the required final regulatory steps.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Does any commissioner have a question concerning item number 1 on the telecommunications agenda? Commissioner Stamps, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to appreciate the hard work and dedication that you've shown to get these things like this passed, especially in the Mississippi Delta. So thank you very much.
You're welcome, sir. Thank you.
Any other questions?
So this approval, are we waiting on another approval from the feds on this?
The federal approval requires 2 additional items that are to be submitted by Belzona Cable within 90 days of February 27, 2026. One was a submission and approval of the irrevocable letter of credit from a qualifying bank, securing the requisite amount of support for this assigned census block group. The other is, number 2, is a submission and approval of a supporting bankruptcy opinion letter. And third is a submission of a completion notice that indicates that this transaction has been consummated and the date thereof, and that they have satisfied all other prerequisites for authorization, such as approval by the expansion of their area by the commission.
So our approval is pending on their approval.
Our approval is part of their approval, which will go into effect. Really, there's 2 items left, is the bankruptcy opinion letter and the letter of credit, which I've talked to Belzona Cable, and those are in the works and will be completed within the 90-day period.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve this item?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item number 1 on the telecommunications agenda is adopted. Item number 2, docket number 2025 UA 110. Mr. Jones, you recognize to present item number 2.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This docket number addresses the application of Bright Speed Fiber Connection, LLC, for a certificate of public convenience and necessity to provide facilities-based, competitive local exchange and inter-exchange telecommunications services across Mississippi. Bright Speed Fiber Connection is a Delaware LLC, and they have their headquarters in Charlotte, North Carolina. It's wholly owned by Connect Holding II LLC, which also owns 3 other Mississippi certificated telecom companies. Bright Speed of Mississippi, which is an ILEC, or an incumbent local exchange carrier. Bright Speed Broadband LLC, which is a competitive local exchange carrier. And Bright Speed of Western Tennessee, which is an incumbent local exchange carrier. All of these entities, including Bright Speed Fiber Connection, are in good standing with the Mississippi Secretary of State's office. Now, this CPCN request supports a planned restructuring and financing arrangement intercompany-wise. Under the plan, certain assets, including optical fiber, customer contracts, and related equipment will transfer from the Mississippi affiliates that we've already just talked about to Bright Speed Fiber. Approval of the transfer to assets will be sought through a separate filing, meaning they'll come back when they're going to actually seek your approval for the transfer of these assets if this application is approved to Bright Speed Fiber from one or all 3 of these already certificated affiliates. This will enable Bright Speed Fiber to serve as the primary provider of fiber-based transport services, including voice and data transport via Ethernet, private line and optical wavelength services for enterprise and carrier customers. Based on the application, supporting exhibits, response to staff data requests, and other inquiry, Bright Speed Fiber demonstrates the financial, technical, and managerial qualifications to deliver these services statewide. Granting this application serves the public interest by fostering competition, expanding customer choice, and promoting competitive pricing and improved service quality. And the staff would recommend to the Commission approval of this application.
Thank you, Mr. Jones.
Yes, sir.
Does any commissioner have any question on item number 2? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve this item?
So moved.
Have a motion, have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is adopted. Item is adopted. Thank you, Mr. Jones. Appreciate your work. We'll now take up item number 1 on the water sewer agenda, which is docket number 2026 UA01. Mr. Rhodes, you're recognized to present this item.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. On January the 7th, 2026, the City of Oxford filed a petition seeking a supplemental certificate for public convenience and necessity, authorizing the acquisition, construction, and operation of a water system in Lafayette County, Mississippi. This petition will allow the City of Oxford to provide water service to a new development project that includes both residential and commercial construction sites. The area being developed runs along Highway 328 south of the city limits of Oxford and is in an uncertified area beyond the 1-mile mark of the city limits. The new development will include 8 residential projects, 3 commercial projects. Additional growth is also anticipated as a result of this development. In an effort to be a good faith partner with the city, the developer has agreed to provide legal and engineering service fees and cover the cost to construct the necessary infrastructure to support this expansion. The City of Oxford has a total of 17,264 customers, of which 1,500 are beyond 1 mile of the city limits, so financial viability and the ability to provide service is not a concern in this petition. The Mississippi State Department of Health has confirmed that the plans and specifications meet agency standards. The City of Oxford has served notice on petition to all interested persons. No person has requested or been granted intervention in this docket. Staff has verified the maps and legal descriptions of the proposed area in the petition and noted no concerns. This project supports economic development in and around the city while allowing new customers to connect to a reliable system. Staff believes granting this petition is in the best interest of the prospective customers and the surrounding community as a whole. Staff would recommend approval of this petition today.
Thank you, Mr. Rhodes. I will say that Lafayette County is growing by leaps and bounds, and Oxford itself is as well. So this will just add to some of that growth. Appreciate your work on this. Does any commissioner have any questions on item number 1 on the water sewer agenda? Commissioner Carr.
So it's eight residential projects and 3 commercial?
Yes, sir.
Are they bringing fire protection there too?
It's my understanding that they are.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. No other questions? Do I have a motion to approve this item?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item number 1 on the water sewer agenda is approved. This concludes our water sewer agenda. Mr. Rhodes, thank you and your team for your work. Moving on to the administrative agenda, item number 1, discussion of possible action regarding approval of commission minutes for the February 2026 term of the commission. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. There's no objection. The commission will take up items 2 and 3 together. Hearing none. Ms. Taylor, you're recognized to present these items.
These 2 orders are orders certifying the annual financial and management fuel audits of Mississippi Power Company and Entergy Mississippi to the legislature in accordance with Mississippi Code Annotated 77342. The reports were filed by the auditors in December and have been reviewed by the staff. Staff submitted their comments on Friday, March 6th, and are available to address those today. In addition, we have representatives from each of these auditing firms to present to the Commission a brief summary of their findings and recommendations. Specifically, representatives of Forvis and Bates White are here to present their findings for Mississippi Power, and the representatives of BDO, formerly Horn, and London Economics are here to present their findings on Entergy Mississippi. Just as a reminder, this is just part one of a two-phase process. The first part is for us to certify and confirm that we have done the audits in accordance with the statute, and then to certify those to the legislature. At a later time, we will take up with the staff, the commission staff, and the public utility staff will sit together and go through those recommendations with the utilities and make a determination on those recommendations made. And then we'll revisit. Y'all will have for your consideration a second order that will decide what recommendations will be put into place. So at this point, I'm going to call up the representatives for Mississippi Power Company, Will Crawford and Vincent Musco, to give a little presentation to the commission.
Mr. Crawford? Yes. Okay, Mr. Crawford, you're recognized.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. Appreciate the opportunity to come before the Commission today to share the results of the fiscal year 25 fuel audit of Mississippi Power. Included in our report is what we refer to as a clean opinion or an unmodified opinion. That's the highest level of assurance that we can provide. It's the type of opinion that you as commissioners and as the ratepayers should expect to receive. The information that we have audited matches dollar for dollar the information that has been previously filed with the Commission. As a part of our audit, we conducted 2 site visits, one with the Energy Center in Birmingham with Southern Company Services, notably to pay close attention to the gas procedures that they do there, their purchasing of gas, and then also to the corporate headquarters there in Gulfport. As a result of our audit, we conducted both a test of internal controls to ensure that the systems and checks and balances are functioning like they're supposed to, and then broke out into a test of details, looking at not only sampling individual transactions, but ensuring that things made sense from a bigger picture, looking at the forest instead of the trees. For example, costs were up this past year, and if you go look at the spot prices of Henry Hub over the last year, just looking at gas, those are up about 41%. So that all seems to make sense. As a part of our audit, we had no findings, recommendations, or recommended changes associated with the information we were provided. This is not our first year to do this audit, so we went into it with a heightened level of professional skepticism and made sure that we did some things that our auditing standards would define as unpredictable. We incorporated elements of unpredictability into the audit to, for lack of a better term, keep Mississippi Power on their toes associated with the fuel audit, and they were able to respond with no issues to all of our additional questions for this year. That concludes my prepared remarks. I would love to entertain any questions from you, Mr. Chair, the Commissioners.
Any questions?
What is the mix of your fuel?
Pardon?
What mix of the fuel at the plant? I mean,
based on this result, and I'm doing quick math, it is going to be somewhere close to 90% gas, 10% coal. That's just based on the actual costs that are going in based on the report that we have filed. And that's quick math sitting here looking at it.
and these are combined cycles?
It is all of the fleet that is under Mississippi Power.
Okay.
Any other questions for Mr. Crawford? Thank you, Mr. Crawford.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Entergy. Who's the representative?
This is going to be Vincent Musco, also for Mississippi Power.
Oh, Mr. Musgrove, you're recognized.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Vincent Musco, I'm a partner at Bates White Economic Consulting. Bates White was retained by the Commission to perform a management and procurement review audit for fuel purchases by Mississippi Power Company for the period October 1, 2024 through September 30, 2025. Our audit assessed Mississippi Power's practices, procedures, and processes for effectiveness and economic efficiency. We reviewed Mississippi Power's processes and controls for ensuring the statutory objective of lowest cost reasonable purchases. We reviewed individual and fuel and purchase power transactions to ensure Mississippi Power is purchasing fuel in an economic manner. On December 15th, 2025, we submitted our report. Our report contains our findings, conclusions, and recommendations. We reviewed several aspects of Mississippi Power's operations, including organization, staffing, and controls, purchase and inventory management of coal, purchase and supply management of natural gas, power plant performance and fleet operations, and energy trading operations. We identified no major concerns in our audit, though did put forth 6 recommendations for your consideration. First, we recommend that future assessments of the ongoing viability of Plant Daniel should contain the costs associated with any minimum throughput of coal supply and coal handling to sustain Plant Daniel's ability to attract willing counterparties, as well as the impact of committing and dispatching Plant Daniel out of economic merit order, if applicable, to sustain that minimum throughput of coal and coal handling services. Second, depending on market conditions, gas trading personnel should consider retaining additional documentation and market context associated with fixed price transactions. Third, Mississippi Power should revisit the current fossil fuel policy language regarding storage allocations to ensure that the allocations can be independently duplicated, and to the extent not already being done, to document and memorialize the analyses, conclusions, and capacity allocation decisions associated with storage. Fourth, Mississippi Power should be required to document on an hourly basis any change to the minimum operating level of each of its generating units, the reason for that change, and any associated out of economics costs. Fifth, Mississippi Power should be required to track all costs associated with out-of-merit dispatch of its generating units and to put in place a plan to reduce those costs. Sixth and finally, Mississippi Power should initiate a review of the peak plant equivalent call option process that determines price setting rules when insufficient information is obtained through the solicitation process. And Mississippi Power should be required to report back to the Commission on the results of its initiative. And as a final point, and this being our 4th annual audit of Mississippi Power, representatives at Mississippi Power and Southern Company Services remained responsive and professional throughout the engagement, and our audit team was again appreciative of their cooperation. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you for the presentation. Any questions? Hearing none, thank you for your presentation. Ms. Taylor?
All right, at this point, we'll have the representatives from LEI and BDO come and present the presentation. We'll start with Ms. Porto. She's with LEI, London Economics.
You're recognized, Ms. Porte.
Good morning, Your Honor, and thank you for the opportunity to appear before you and be of service to the Commission. I'm here to talk about the management performance audit of Entergy Mississippi for the period of October 24 and September 2025. I would first like to thank Entergy and Entergy Mississippi staff for their kind cooperation in the audit. Overall, as in the previous years, LEI found that the processes, procedures, and oversight at Entergy Mississippi and Entergy are thorough and professional. We didn't have any major areas of concern, but we had 11 findings associated with recommendations for improvement during this current audit period. Some of this information is confidential, so I'm going to talk about them in very general references. So first, for organization and staffing, we recommend to keep monitoring the activation of one of the plants that haven't been progressing much. Moving on, for plant operations, we continue to recommend performance improvements in some of the plants. We recommended this in a past audit as well, and they are moving forward and improving, but there's still some room for progress there. We also recommend to incorporate actual CapEx amounts for one of the plants into the reported CapEx. This is a new plant. We recommended this in the past. And they will include this when the warranty expires in 2027. Also, we recommend improvement for training for employees regarding maintenance activity reporting. We also recommend to monitor one item that it was listed as confidential in the next audit period, and also reduce force outages as the Independence Unit 1. Next, related to MISA operations, we continue to recommend that the Independence plant be offered based on expected earnings and not to manage coal inventory. We recommended that in the past. Number 8, to monitor how EML incorporates some new FERC rules related to demand response. This must be monitored in the next audit period. Moving on to coal procurement, we continue to recommend improvement in coal forecasting to reduce inventory levels and also to improve alignment of spot purchases and inventory management. Lastly, for coal inventory, we continue to recommend that they reduce the inventory target assumptions. For coal, for gas, nuclear fuel management, and the Grand Gulf PPA, we do not have any recommendations. This concludes the results of LEI's audit at a very high level, and I'm happy to take any questions you may have.
Thank you, Ms. Porto. How do you spell your last name?
Porto, P-O-R-T-O.
Oh, just like the city.
Yes.
Porto, yeah. Thank you. Any questions?
Fuel mix? Can you give us a fuel mix?
Yes, so they mostly gas. They do have one coal plant that is retiring soon. And they also have the nuclear PPA.
Any other questions?
Well,
Commissioner Stamps.
I would say that I appreciate your report and your presentation. I know this is not part of my comment, but not part of what you're doing, but I want to expand our coal operation. I want to look at how we can make it go beyond its life instead of decommissioning this thing, because this Winter Storm Fern just showed that we need the power. So I'm just putting it out there, not specifically to you, but the folks in this room, that we need to look at how we can keep that going. Even if it's the last one in America, we need to keep it.
Yes, they're scheduled for deactivation, and they're moving forward with that as of we know now. But yeah, they are important
This is my
type
one.
of. Yeah, it is an important type of the resource mix.
Yeah.
Depending.
Any other questions? Thank you, Ms. Porto.
Thank you.
And lastly, we'll hear from Mr. Green from BDO.
Mr. Green, you're recognized. It's green, right?
Green, yeah.
Green,
Yes,
okay.
sir. Just like the colors.
Yes,
So
sir.
I appreciate the commission's allowing us to do this work. As you heard, we Horn merged with BDO US on November 1st, so about a month and a half before we issued the report. But there were no changes in the team, no impact on the audit engagement, run seamlessly, continued to meet deadlines as expected by the commission and the staff. So we appreciate, Horn appreciates, and BDO continues to appreciate the relationship we have. We were engaged to audit Energy Mississippi's allowable fuel and purchased energy cost for the period of October 1st through September 30th, 2025. We executed this engagement really through testing hundreds of transactions from the company's general ledger system. We completed our audit and issued a clean opinion on December 15th. Total fuel and purchased energy costs for the period totaled approximately $369 million. Net allowable cost after deducting cost of system sales totaled approximately $216 million. Of the total fuel and purchased energy cost, 70% of those related to natural gas at about $260 million. So from a mix standpoint, those primarily coming from natural gas. As it relates to required communication to the commission, we noted no significant or unusual transactions impacting our audit procedures. We had no difficulties encountered in performing the audit, either with the entity or otherwise. And as we allude to it, at some points, we do go through a pretty strenuous planning exercise, assessing risk, and there were no changes in our overall risk assessment as we went through and executed the audit procedures. The quality of Energy's financial reporting as it relates to this audit is appropriate, and then we would also report that we had no issues with internal controls as it relates to the company's processes for developing and presenting these statements. And that concludes our presentation.
So obviously on the fuel, it's just a pass-through, correct? Pass-through cost on
Right.
fuel. So what's going on with natural gas prices?
Ooh. I might have to refer to my.
No worries.
Yeah, I mean we're primarily focused on is it allowable or not allowable, and so we do get into fuel cost and making sure that at the time of the audit, during that period, that those costs appear to be in line with market and the contracts that we're looking at. But I might have to go look and back and see the fluctuations of the natural gas prices at that time.
Sure. But what we're seeing is obviously the prices are up for this year. So any other questions?
Comment.
Commissioner Carr.
And I understand when someone asks about gas prices, no one knows where we're going. But I do know that with these new units coming online, there's a huge cost savings, huge efficiency. Some of the stuff that I have looked up over the course of the last week, they're 40% more efficient, which is a cost savings. There, as Commissioner Stamps, about the coal, if we wouldn't have had coal, we'd had some problems in the last couple months with electricity. We would have had some blackouts and brownouts. So I am very cautious about where we're heading as far as when we have fuel audits. We're being so putting all of our eggs in one basket, but that's the only basket we have at this point. And this gas leads us to the future, which is nuclear, and which this commission in this state is pushing for nuclear. If it was here last week, it would have been 1 week too late, because that's how bad everybody's wanting. But I also want to make a compliment to our utilities, especially on the electrical side. They're very efficient. When I look around and see what other states are going through, man, I'm thankful we have y'all guys in our corner, because I do a great job, and I sincerely mean that. And those men and women that are out there, when it's very cold, operating those plants. It starts there. And I just wish that the people with the gas industry wouldn't pay attention to what's going on and only focus what's going on in our country, because we have the resources, and we don't need to be listening to anyone else. I believe that's why God put us here on this continent, for we have all the resources that we need right here. And being more efficient is a very good compliment that our technology is leading us to. That's the only compliment that I would have to say. I mean, Commissioner Stamps, I'd like to make a comment.
Yeah, I would agree. That I agree with both of my colleagues. Is that I know this is kind of not your world, but it is that we are focused on reliable, affordable, resilient energy, and so coal is a part of that. Mm-hmm. And so I appreciate the statements that we openly make. We're not antagonistic to any energy forms as long as it gives us reliable, affordable, resilient energy. And so just as a public statement, we're open for business or anybody that wants to locate their facilities here to create energy. So Entergy, Mississippi Power, let's build some more power generation. So TVA too, by the way. Commissioner Stamps.
Along those same lines, Commissioner, I agree with my colleagues. We have to get more generation in Mississippi, but we need more users. So I'm just going to say this openly. We need more high-volume users to shoulder the burden of the financial requirements necessary to expand coal, nuclear, and all of it. You can't have small government and small utilities. If we're going to shrink the government down, the utilities got to get bigger so that they can respond, so that we won't also have to put that burden on the residential or small business ratepayer. We need more high-volume industrial users to foot the billions of dollars of generation necessary to take us into the future. So let's keep working hard.
I think this is appropriate, but there was a movie called Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come.
That's right.
Sorry, Mr. Green. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank y'all.
I'm not Kevin Costner, but I did my best on that one. If we build it, they will come. It is a huge economic development issue. I mean, the state and the country that provides reliable, affordable energy will win.
That's right.
Hands down, full stop, explanation point. And so we want to be part of that solution to make sure that we don't end up like some countries and have that they're losing their industrial base and they're losing their competitive edge. Mississippi and America, we want to have that competitive edge going forward so we can secure the future for our posterity, all of our children and grandchildren. So, and I think we take that seriously here, and that's why we have all the above, even coal. If we need to expand that, we will. If we need to prolong the life of those plants, we will. If it makes power more affordable and reliable. Any other questions? Does that conclude your?
It does. I'll just briefly reiterate
Sure.
that once these reports are certified and the copies are provided to the legislation, the commission staff will meet with the public utility staff and with the utility representatives and to prepare orders implementing the auditor's recommendations. And those orders typically are presented to the commission for vote in May or June.
Okay. Any commissioner have any more questions on items 2 and 3?
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Stamps, you recognize.
It's not directly related to this item, but it's in the same topic. Things that are passed through that are already, we have to pay for these things. Do we have to vote on them every time?
Okay, so I think that's in reference to the very next item.
Okay.
And I'll actually address that in response to that. As soon as we pull up that item, I'll take that up.
That's item number 4.
Mm-hmm.
Any questions on items 2 or 3? Do I have a motion to approve these items?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Items 2 and 3 on the administrative agenda are approved. Item number 4 of the administrative agenda, Ms. Taylor, you're recognized to present this item. Docket number 2024 UA 101.
So to address your question, Commissioner Stamps, 773271 does require that we rule. It actually says the commission must rule only on the prudency. Now, we're not dealing with approval of the project because we're coming in behind it. It's already been built, and we're charged with ruling on the prudency. And to be clear, it's a very narrow ruling. We're mandated to find that the costs are prudent unless, I'll give you the exact language, a serious doubt is raised with respect to specific costs. So in that way, it's a very narrow oversight of those sorts of projects. So I'll present this item now, and then if you have any other questions, I'll be glad to answer those. So this is the Cosmos substation project. EML seeking a prudence review of $47 million in costs for phase 2 of a three-phase transmission project consisting of the construction of the new Cosmos substation and related remote end work. The construction of the project was authorized by Section 77.3.271. While the legislation authorizes construction of the project, it requires a prudence ruling from the PSC. The project went into service on November the 7th of 2025, and EML filed its request for prudence review of the $47 million in costs recorded as of October 31st, 2025. Following EML's request for prudence review, the staff engaged the services of Bates White. Bates White reviewed the EML filing and EML's responses to 3 sets of data requests and concluded that the planning, design, and cost of the project were prudent. The staff adopted Bates White's report. The proposed order before the commission for vote provides that the planning, design, construction, and management of the project were done in a reasonable manner, and the project's costs recorded as of October 31st, 2025 are prudently incurred, and that any project in excess of $47 million will be subject to the same prudence review.
Thank you, Ms. Taylor. And again, to kind of clarify, before we go into our comment section, that we're charged with ruling on whether the project approved by 77-3-271, basically, that the money for the project that we didn't approve or PUS didn't approve was prudent on the project itself.
Correct.
Not that we're approving the project.
That's correct. It would be essential, just to kind of simplify it down, it'd be like saying the house is already built. We want to know if the flooring was
at
the right cost, and that's what we're looking at it at the end, saying the cost elements were prudently incurred. It is not about approving the building of the house. It's about whether the individual components going into that house and the other things were prudently incurred. That's what you're looking at.
Okay.
And that's all you're looking at.
Comments? Commissioner Stamps.
Let me phrase it this way then.
I'm sorry.
Let me phrase it this way. The user, the high volume user, is paying for their appropriate share of the cost of the project. Is that accurate to say?
Well, I would have to defer to Entergy to answer those kind of questions. This is just to say, we don't have anything to do with the rate setting, because that's all private. That their large customer supply and service agreement, we don't get any say-so in that. That was taken from the commission. So they enter into those. Those are confidential, and we don't get to approve those.
That's fine.
I didn't know if I could help answer the question.
Please.
As far as the mechanism for recovery of the cost, that's a different mechanism, the interim facilities mechanism. So this is just an approval of a request for a review of the prudence of those costs, not to make a determination on how they're recovered.
Well, my question is, everybody in the room knows why I'm asking the question. I just want to make sure it's said redundantly that the, who's paying for it.
Right, and I know one of the we're now seeing that the revenues from this large customer are providing benefits to other customers. We recently filed our FRP at the end of February, and in that, those revenues from the large customer completely offset what would otherwise have been a $36 million rate action. So we're to the point where we're seeing those revenues provide benefits to other customers. FRP being an example, and then at this point, the customer is in the very early stages of the ramp. As they continue to ramp up, those revenues will continue to ramp up. That's where we'll get to see the point. I think by 2030, a 14% decrease in rates from what they otherwise would have been, but for the large customer revenues.
Okay, so say that one more time, because repetition is the mother of all learning, and I want to make sure that people hear it redundantly in these moments where these actions come
Sure.
before
I was just speaking to the benefits that we're seeing from the revenues from the large customer. You can see it in our most recently filed FRP that we filed at the end of February. The revenues from that customer completely offset what would have otherwise been a $36 million rate action in that filing that the commission will get to approve in June, or get to vote on in June, for which we're seeking approval. And additionally, we're at a point where the customer is at the very beginning of a multi-year ramp period, and so as that ramp continues, those revenues are going to continue to increase, and so that'll take us to the number that we've provided to the commission, the 16% decrease by 2030 of customer bills from what they otherwise would have been, but for those large customer revenues.
Thank you very much.
Commissioner
Oh,
Carr.
come back, please.
Yep, come back, sir. We're not done with you yet.
Not so easy.
Not so fast. As Lee Corso would say.
So, for me to understand, so the cost, the project's already been built or going to be built?
The project has already been built. The
Going to
project
be
went in-
built.
It's already been built. It
Already
went in-
been built.
It went into service in November.
So the new generation plants, have they been incorporated into the cost yet? The ones that haven't been built, that we've,
The ones that, new generation that has yet to be built,
yes.
I mean, I don't, and as far as in the interim capacity I don't believe those new plants, to the extent that there weren't any cost incurred, would flow through rates.
Okay, so
So
who's
then-
gonna, I guess my question is, who's gonna pay for those plants?
Well, again, the revenues from these large customers are going to pay the fair share, just the cost to serve them. To the extent that new generation needed to be built in order to serve these customers, those customers are going to pay that share.
Okay. So did I hear you correctly that the minimum that they're paying now is more than they're using because of delays in their projects?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
So the minimum payment that they're paying now, these large customers, is more than actually what they're using as far as electricity.
So to the extent that the customer uses more than the minimum, they would pay that amount. What my point was that the revenues that we're talking about now and that, provided this, the alleviation of a $36 million rate action in the FRP, those are in the early stage. Those are the revenues reflective of the early stages of a multi-year ramp period for the customer. So as the customer ramp or their usage increases, those revenues would increase accordingly.
Okay. So would we also be safe to say that because of these large customers now and future large customers, that those incomes would keep the base rate depressed?
Oh, that's most definitely.
That would be safe to say.
Most definitely.
Okay. So, and also too, there is tremendous cost savings from what little bit of research I have done. When I go back to these combined cycle being more efficient, that those costs would be incurred too to also help depress, because the combined cycles are 40% plus or minus more efficient.
That's
so
correct.
that cost would be added to keep the rates lower.
That's correct. That's another, to your point, another benefit.
To also to the tune of $700 million to $1 billion in the course and the life of those units.
I couldn't speak to the amount. I know, but
it's just something I heard.
40% efficiency.
Some of the stuff that
is
I
a number that I'm familiar with.
So any other big data centers that are large users that come into our state, that's going to keep our rates down, and those customers are going to help offset whatever capacity they have to do, build new generation, new power lines, new transmission lines. They're going to help offset those costs also. Correct?
That's correct, and not just offset, but to provide benefit to other customers as well.
Okay. And so, to be clear to the commissioner's point, is at that time, once it comes to us, the projects has already been approved by the leadership, ever who that may be. We're just going to be looking at the cost of it, the prudence of what's been spent. Correct? Is that what everybody is saying? I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page here. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Stringer. Although the commission will be voting on in a few minutes on this item, I'd like to take a few minutes to provide some context for this vote. Section 77.371 of the Mississippi Code severely limits the commission's oversight of large customer infrastructure expansions like this. The legislation granted special treatment to these projects due to their size, nature, and economic impact. Traditionally determined by the commission, these projects are declared by the state to be in the interest of the public. Using broad and sweeping language, the statute divests the Commission of its authority to determine the present and future public convenience and necessity of these projects, including all construction, acquisition, ownership, operation, maintenance, or improvements of electric generation, transmission, and distribution facilities, along with related property and rights of way, necessary to directly or indirectly provide electric service on an exclusive basis. Further, the public utility is permitted to enter into large customer supply and service agreement with a customer, setting out the terms and pricing for electric service without obtaining approval from the Commission. Although the public utility is required to provide certain information to the Commission prior to project completion, such reporting is for informational purposes only. In fact, the Commission has no authority over Section 77.3.271, infrastructure expansion projects, except to rule on cost prudency. Even this authority is narrowly tailored. The statute requires that the Commission find prudency and allow recovery of all costs unless a serious doubt is raised with respect to specific cost. So I think what's causing a lot of the consternation on this project is how 77.3.271 kind of sidestepped the process. There's less transparency, and I think that is what most of us and the public continues to dig and try to find answers, because it's outside of the process. And being in politics, anytime somebody's outside of the process, it throws up a red flag. So why are we outside of the process? Why don't we follow the standard process that every other company follows on these projects? Entergy didn't create it. 77.3.271 created the sidestep. So again, we're not mad at 77.3.271, but to explain to the public what this vote is and what it's not. So there is still questions that Commissioner Carr has asked. We do not, nor do we think that AWS wants the ratepayers of the state of Mississippi to bear the burden of their project. I don't believe that. There's another project that's going on, a large scale data center in North Mississippi in my district that is impacting the grid zero. It's all behind the meter. So we have 3 different examples currently going on data centers in this country. We have one that's completely behind the meter, generating their own power, doing their own thing. We have one that went through the legislature to carve out speed to market, we'll say, to get a speed to market, which we're not complaining about that. That is part of the negotiation that the state had to do with this large company. We get that. And then you have those on the south part of the state that have data centers that have went through the process, that are connected to the grid. So Mississippi, we have three different pathways, if you will, for large data centers. One completely behind the meter, one that was the process a little bit cloudier, and then one that went through the standard process. So I think it's a good lesson that we can look at all three. But again, this vote today that we're about to take is not saying we approve of these projects because we weren't asked on the front end. We may or may not approve the projects. What we're asked to do today is, like Ms. Taylor said, was the money spent on it the correct amount of money for what the project was? The prudence of the spending, not the approval of that substation itself. So again, just wanted to clarify to those that are listening and those that are very concerned about the process, and I'll just speak to the company that, that's why there's so much anxiety around it, is because it's not going through the proper process. The end result may be the same, but under the staff and us, we have those questions. That we asked today, is the customer bearing the cost of these facilities to get the big company on board? And if they are, then that's not our intent. So we want to be very cognizant. We want to welcome new industry here. Our arms are wide open, just like the data center up north, just like the data center here and the data center in the south. If it benefits the ratepayers of the state of Mississippi and the economy of the state, we are all on board. But we do not want to transfer the cost of a big, major industrial development to grandma and grandpa. And so we're very concerned about those things, and we'll continue to do everything we can to do our due diligence on this end. Any other comments? Commissioner Stamps?
I do want to just bring to light, because I think sometimes we put things out of context. In America, across the whole country, there are these type of operations all over. It used to be you could have a server room in the back of your business, put some air conditioners in there, and that was capable enough for your data storage and all of that. Well, that's not the case anymore when it comes to new industries. And Virginia, for instance, Virginia has 570 data centers in the state of Virginia. The city of Norfolk has 7. Mississippi has, 5 or 6 in the whole state, So the industrial users of the future will need high capacity data transmission and storage capability in order to function. And if we want to have industry in the future, we're going to have the ability to function, but it's all in how it's governed. Anything that's governed inappropriately or ineffectively can be manipulated, and it can be, bad for people. It's incumbent upon us to do what's in the best interest of people, managing resources, managing air quality, managing how companies use our natural resources. So for me, when it comes to being a regulator, I'm all for more ability to regulate. So if the legislature wants to give us more ability to regulate, I'm all for it. And let's be more keenly aware of what's coming in the future, but also there are businesses that are already here that need more regulation. So let's continue to work hard to provide the effective governance that the citizens of Mississippi deserve.
Any other questions or comments on item number 4?
I do have one question.
Commissioner Carr, you recommend.
So who is verifying these numbers?
Bates White would be the auditing company that verified these numbers, and then staff would have reviewed what they found. So the two together are verifying these numbers and then presenting that to the commission.
Okay.
Any other questions on item 4? Hearing none, to have a motion to approve this item.
So move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The proposed order for item 4 of the administrative agenda is approved. Any other business to come before the commission? Hearing none, we stand adjourned. Thank y'all.